Hello, my name is Jake, and in this video, we're going to do something a little different. So last weekend, a friend of mine went to a wedding in Montreal, but he left his car at his girlfriend's house, and he was gone from Friday until Sunday. And when he got back on Sunday, he noticed that part of his car door was smushed in. Kind of sucks. And as far as he knows, no note was left. And this is also a car that he just got fixed after somebody else ran a red and smashed right into him. So some of the good news is that the house he was parked at has some security cameras. The bad news of that is that those security cameras didn't actually capture any events, but they do have recordings of, the 24-hour period for about a week or so. The bad news is that that's over 72 hours of footage that you'd have to kind of scrub through to maybe see something, because he doesn't actually know whether it happened at the place he parked his car or if it happened after he drove home. He didn't actually notice. I don't know how he didn't notice. You'd think you'd notice, but whatever. So I figured if he can get me the footage, maybe I can help. I know how to code. I don't want to look through 72 hours of footage, but my computer probably can pretty quickly. I wanted to see if I can figure this out. I put on my detective hat, and turned out to work pretty well. So I'm actually going to show you this a bit of a strange way, but mainly because I actually did all of the coding on my Mac, just because it was handy. I could be wherever in the house. And I was a little sick, so I didn't want to be in my basement where it's cold, like I am right now. Still a little sick. But I did all of my coding on my Mac, so I figured rather than try and transfer all of the footage and do that here, I'm just going to screen record some of the basics because it kind of gets the point across. I will go over some of the code though. So firstly, we had 3 different files of camera footage, one for each day. So this is May 17th, 18th, and 19th. And if we go ahead and look at these, they are 10 gigs, 10 gigs, and 9.9 gigs. Basically 30 gigs of footage. And what's even worse is if you go into one of them, they're broken down by hour. It's not just a 24-hour stream. In fact, if you go into one of them again, they're actually broken down by minute. So every minute, this camera software will basically take the minute, save it, and start recording for the next minute. This does mean you get 24 hours of footage, but that then means you actually have, 60 different videos per hour times 24, and then times 3. So I figured we could just look at this and, maybe piece it all together through some video editing software and just like 8x speed it and just start watching and hopefully see something. But best case scenario, if you're watching it at like 4x speed, it's still going to take you like almost a day, a little under 24 hours to watch this whole thing. And we've actually had a car get hit similar to this before, and nothing happened. We actually had footage of it, very close to this actually, and nothing happened. With the footage, didn't really matter. We didn't have a license plate, So anyways, I just figured, I don't think anybody wants to watch something for maybe 20 or 18 hours to then maybe see something, to then not really have any resolution. But if some code can just watch it for us, maybe find something, then at least you have some kind of oh, okay, that's what happened. That's who hit me, or whatever. I decided that instead, we're just going to try and treat all the data how we have it, so all of this footage, and we're just going to write some scripts. So firstly, this is kind of what the footage looks like. It's a little grainy. You can't see license plates or anything like that, but it has the time down in the bottom right, which is very useful. So here's the code for this problem. I'm going to be straight up. I use Chat GPT for this because, frankly, I could figure this out through looking at documentation and doing a bunch of Googling and stuff, or I could just ask Chat GPT to do it, and then it would spit out the code for me. I did have to change some things to actually make this work how I wanted it to, but if you can get 80% of the way there because it can just write it for you, why not? So I'm not going to pretend that I'm a CV2 genius, an open CV genius, and I know how all of these things work perfectly, but after playing with it a little bit, I kind of have an idea. So let's go over my Chat GPT journey here. So first things first, I just said, could you please let me know how I can check for motion within a specific area of a video file using Python? So it says, okay, use OpenCV, you load the video file, you define the specific area, which is this ROI, then you detect motion using this frame differencing and some background subtraction to detect motion. Sounds great. So spit out some code. I went ahead and tried this code out, and I found that it mostly worked. But one thing I was kind of wanting was that, like, sure, even if it finds motion, I want to know if something happened, right? So what I decided to do was I said, okay, can you maybe make it so that a pop-up will come up and basically show me that motion has happened in this frame? And then that way I can kind of press space and have that thing go away and it can continue processing. So my idea here was that if I just keep doing this, then I can ideally go through all of my footage within a relatively fast amount of time. And all I would have to do is just keep pressing space to then see the next frame where motion happened, and I'd be good. Unfortunately, that was not the case, because what I found was that when I was running this, it took maybe about 5 to 10 seconds to go through a video, and a video is a 60-second time frame. So that was about 60 times, about 10 times 60 times 24 times 3. That was about 43,200 seconds. And if we do this, we can see that's about 12 hours. So that would mean I would have to be sitting, pressing space for about 12 hours, which I didn't want to do. So I decided that instead of doing that, let's have it not do that. And either can we speed up reading this because 12 hours is long? And yeah, of course we can. So I just asked it. Honestly, I had some ideas on how to do this, but I was sick and I didn't want to write too much code at the time. So I just figured, hey, ChatGPT, you do most of this for me. And yeah, it said some options. So it kind of gave us some options here and didn't really do too much in terms of actually doing this, but it said how it could do it. So it did the resizing, which we had already kind of done, and it said you can skip frames. And honestly, skipping frames is a really simple thing. Usually if there's motion in video, it's not that the motion is actually like in a single frame, because if that's the case, then like you got a ghost or something. So unless a ghost hit his car, it's probably fine if we skip some frames, because you're going to see a car. It's not unless the car's really fast, like Back to the Future or something. Anyways, so I said, okay, how can we skip every 10 frames? I kind of knew that we can probably just like have a counter and just mod the counter and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, you know what, just do it for me. So I went ahead and asked that. And then it just says, okay, basically like if the frame counter is mod skip frames, then continue, meaning continue going over this loop. So I tried that out and it was faster because I'm skipping every 5 frames, or I'm only reading every 5 frames. But I still was like, it's kind of still slow. So like, how can I actually get the total number of frames of a video so then I can log the percentage of completion? And it did a lot of this for me, actually. It said, oh, okay, you can get this from this cap prop frame count. And then it even put in the processing and percentage complete. And this is per video clip. So at this time, I was basically saying, this is the video clip that I want, specifying a specific minute period, and then going from there. Which is okay, but not great, because I would have to do it like, let's see, like 4,300 times or something like that. I'd have to change the script and run it again. Which sucks. So I said, okay, how can I loop over a number of video files? And first off, this was a pretty bad prompt. But hey, I'm not going to hate on ChatGPT for me giving it bad prompts. So I was like, yeah, that was a stupid prompt. Okay, how can I loop over a number of video files from a given directory? So I knew I'd just use OS for this, but again, lazy. It was like 9 o'clock or so at night yesterday, and again, sick. So I was like, okay, so we're gonna get a directory, we're gonna have some extensions, and oh, now we have this in a process video, a function, makes sense to me. This is gonna get all of the video files from a given directory, and based off of that, we will have a list of video files, which we can just loop over and go ahead and do that. So that's mostly good, except I actually have a bunch of video files per hour and then per day, right? So I needed to go even deeper. So what I ended up doing here was really simply, I kind of just did some of it manually. So I basically said the target dates we care about are these 3 dates, because I can just do that myself. Then I did for I in range of 0 to 24, because we start at 0 and range is not inclusive. So this would be to 23. We're going to do this zfill, which basically means that if it's 1 or 0 through 9, it would print out like this. So 1 would print that. And if it's 12, it would print this. So that's then going to get me a string for each of these values here, so I can get all of the hours. Then I just have a video directory that we're going to target, which is the date and the hour, as an example I had here. And then we're going to get all the video files from that video directory, and we're going to put this in a for loop. Then we just simply process the video here for every video file. And I did sort the video files specifically because I wanted to be able to see if we were processing I didn't want to start doing video minute 55 and then minute 45 or whatever. I wanted it to go 0 through 59. So that's why I'm sorting. Yeah, so that was great. So I started running this, but instead of having it pop something up, I wanted it to actually, if there was motion, I wanted it to output a file. So it would basically save the frame that it thought there was motion in, and it would say that motion was detected, and we saved it. And we're saving it with some very specific information here. Specifically, the date, the hour, the frame, and the frame counter. The reason we're doing this is because we want to make sure that it's easy to go back and review a video to know which frame that video was from. In addition to this, we actually have this contours thing. And basically what this is doing is it's trying to find where the movement was, and then it's going to build some rectangles around the movement. Now, again, I didn't write this. This was Chat GPT stuff because I frankly didn't know how to do that. So how to draw a box around the area we were searching for in the output image. So initially this was what I was doing to verify that we were actually only searching for the top left area near where the car was. And then I said, how can we put a box around the motion that was seen? And there we go. So now we're outputting a bunch of images, and that's kind of what I did. So I ran this. It took a little overnight, but I was sleeping, so it was fine. And if we go along, we can see we get a lot of images. We got around 1,100 images, which is a lot, for sure. But some of them are very obviously not useful, but some of them were. So this would mean that I would still have to actually go through all of these images, and frankly, that's still better than watching all the video, and I can just kind of go through them really quickly and probably have an idea. So that's what I did here. So I basically started with the first one and just kind of started going through them. And while I kept doing that, and again, most of them are pretty obvious. And eventually, I would usually get to one where I maybe don't know what something is, like for instance there, this last one here, I would say, oh, let's see something there. Maybe that was a car that we just missed for some reason. So I'd go ahead and look at the specific video file, which was in this case, 5:18, 19 hours and 2 minutes. And I would go ahead and look at that video file and see at specifically this 1902. I always think the zeros is a 3. But anyways, I would look at 1902, 23, and see if there's something there. So I did that for a couple of them here, but most of them are pretty obvious that it's not a big deal. And then I found this one right here. So this one right here was at 12:03 and 0 seconds. So it was like the very start of a clip. So I was like, huh, okay. You know, there's a lot going on here, and it's very close to his car. So maybe this is another case that I have to check out. I went ahead and looked at the time here, so 12:03 on the 17th. And I went to this, so 12:03. And we can see there's a car there. And you can even see there's a little bit of something on that person's bumper. Oh yeah, detective hat is definitely on. So, but it's the very start of the clip, so I figured we'll go to the one before, because just the minute before. So we went to the minute before, and we moved forward in time here. And, well, we found him. We got him. And yep. So after doing this, we found who did it. Not specifically who did it, but that this specific car did do it. Now, the good news is the car that's actually there is a car that is actually across the road from where he parked somewhat often. And even when actually looking at that footage, if I went further on in the 12:03 video, we can actually see that the car pulls off to the side and stops. So I was like, huh, that's weird. I thought they just run away. Most people do that, I found. So I watched them, and they just kind of stood there for a little bit, or like were in their car for a bit. And then the next minute of video, they actually got out, walked to the car, and left a note on his car. It just so happened this was the Friday, and he got back on this Sunday. So during that time, it had rained, it was windy, there were some storms. Probably their note just either disintegrated or blew away. But you can very clearly see, I'm not going to show this person, but you can very easily see that this person did leave a note. They weren't trying to be bad. They actually were a good person about this. So it all kind of worked out, I think. Well, we don't know yet because we found this out today, but it will probably work out considering they left a note. So this is just a simple example of why programming can be really handy sometimes. It's not just for like grabbing information from online or making a game or whatever it may be. You can use it for some pretty practical reasons. In fact, some of the practical reasons that I've started to get interested in are actually hardware based. So I haven't made anything or have any plans to make anything yet, but I think eventually I will start to make some hardware videos where, you know, we use a little Raspberry Pi to make something or shoot an arrow at you or something. Maybe not an arrow, that's a bit excessive. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was really different from what I usually post, but I thought it was kind of interesting and a little bit of a unique scenario for why coding can just be super handy. So if you enjoyed it, please drop a like down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.